Hey. Today is Tuesday, November 12th. Let's have a call to order for the Marlborough Public Schools School Committee meeting. The time is 7:31. I would like to remind everyone that we are being videotaped and rebroadcast and streamed by WMCT-TV. Having said all that, let's all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Excellent. Thank you very much, everyone. We are now excited to have a presentation from the Whitcomb students who had visited Japan. So, if you'd like to come on up and showcase this wonderful presentation that we're all dying to see.
Hi. Good evening, school committee members. Thank you for allowing us to attend tonight's meeting. It is with my greatest pleasure to be here tonight to celebrate and share with all of you all of the successes from our 7 student representatives that prepared, traveled to, and returned from our sister city, Akaruno, Japan. I am Jennifer Smith, and I am the advisor to the Whitcomb Japanese Exchange Program this current year. As a parent, I had the privilege of being part of this program last year. When my son traveled to Japan, I got to experience the parent end. But now, I've had the privilege to be the advisor to this program as a teacher in the Marlborough Public Schools. When our journey began together, back in April, I wondered if I was going to be able to create just as much magic, hope, and laughter and excitement that was created for my son. Throughout the months and the weeks and the days, we began to build this. On Tuesday mornings, we would meet before school with Mrs. Ayako Barnum, our parent volunteer, for our Japanese language and culture classes. Those very early mornings, we were learning about customary mannerisms, how to hold our chopsticks, money, how to say things in Japanese, how to introduce ourselves. Throughout the summer, I thought it would be difficult for us to continue building, but it wasn't. Our 7 student representatives came together every week at the city concert series here in the park. There, they supported each other and even got on stage and represented themselves in a positive way to our community. I was always so proud of seeing them interact with our city. This fall, we came back to school, and I had to announce the unfortunate news that I was not going to be able to travel with them this year. But it was with my greatest pleasure that Assistant Principal Eileen Hurley and math teacher Andrew Thane, who unfortunately could not be here with us tonight, would lead them halfway across the world. And they too began joining us on our very early Tuesday morning classes. Then, one very particular early morning, after a group circle, they set off on their journey to Japan. I led as the advisor here as a communication correspondent between the chaperones, students, and parents so that they could rest at their evenings and I could handle the conversations here. Daniel, Parker, Jaden, Malia, Madeline, Kwame, and Kier returned to us in the very wee mornings one weekend, full of energy, smiles, and accomplishment. They are role models, and they represented Marlborough and our schools with the utmost respect and dignity. I am so proud of them all.
And good evening, I'm Eileen Hurley, one of the assistant principals at Whitcomb. I will keep my words brief, but I want to share how proud I was of our students who gave speeches in Japanese, tried new foods, and explored the community of Japan. And they were all made honorary citizens on our final day there of Japan. So nice job, guys.
I do have some words from Andrew Thane, who was unable to be here with us tonight, and he would like me to read this statement from him. Going to Japan was an incredible experience for which I am extremely grateful. I was proud of our 7 students as they interacted with each other during their academic classes and other gatherings. I have students who speak little to no English. I was able to identify with their struggle because I do not speak or write in Japanese. Upon my return, they were eager to hear everything about the trip. While discussing the culture and the details of Japanese schools, I noted my difficulties navigating the lessons being taught in the language foreign to my own. A few students shared their own frustrations and difficulty trying to understand content taught in English. This mutual sharing provided a wonderful bonding opportunity for all students. I am sorry I'm not able to be here tonight. And so on that note, I would like to share with you a brief 2-minute movie of their journey to Akaruno, Japan, and then each of our student representatives have something short, but they're all overachievers, to share with us tonight. And now our student representatives would like to share some of their reflections. Daniel Schooler.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Sick. All right. I'd like to start off by saying that our entire trip to Japan was amazing, and I have so many great memories. Everyone from the students to the city members were so kind and welcoming and respectful to all of us. But apart from that, I do have one favorite memory that I like to share. On my 4th day with my host family, I gave the gifts that my family bought for them, and it was very nice seeing them so happy with the gifts that we gave them, especially because they gave us so many gifts as well. I had such a great time with my host family, and I truly wish that I can have the opportunity to see them again. Thank you.
Parker White.
Okay. Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm going to start off with a memory from my school experience. I went to school, and I did not speak the same language, I will say that. But I could tell from their attitudes and the way they acted towards each other that they were just like us. Like, they have 10-minute breaks between periods, and I noticed that they just kind of talked with each other, laughed, and had a good time. I know that me and my friends probably would be doing that if we had 10-minute breaks between class. I also learned that they think it's very funny when they insult each other. So that was funny to hear a bunch of different insults, like how to call somebody, say that somebody got an AB on something instead of an A, and that was interesting. I also learned that the culture of Japanese is very clean. They have different shoes for inside their house, inside the school, outside, and in their bathrooms. And what else? Oh. The nature there is probably the most amazing thing I have ever seen in my entire life, and I would love to go back and experience that again. But I would have to say that going to Japan was a once-in-a-lifetime experience. And I did miss like 3 soccer games for that, which was a sacrifice. But I would have missed 5 if it meant I could go back again. Thank you.
Jaden Bautista.
Good evening, everyone.
You can bring the mic down.
Pull the mic down.
Okay. Oh. Okay. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening.
During my stay in Japan, I wanted to show like who I was to like the people from Japan. So I decided to bring them something special from like where like my heritage and where my culture came from. Because I was born here, but my heritage is from Mexico. And so basically during my stay, I want to make them a special dinner that they will never forget. That is from my culture and like from my heritage. And I gave them American snacks too, but I also make sure they give them the Mexican snacks too, because those are also from my culture and heritage. But that night, I made them a dinner, and this dinner was tacos. something very popular from my heritage, and yeah. So I did it during a call with my parents online because this was my first time making it too. So I was very clueless, but I was able to get it done. And when I got it done, I served it to everyone, and they were just like very like impressed with like the way it looked, the way it was, and the way it tasted. And they all told me how they really enjoyed it. And at the end, they even tried making their own version of their tacos too. It's just overall a really great experience, and like I'm just proud to like show them who I really was and like where I came from, like where my heritage is from, and like showing both sides of the American and Mexican.
Great.
Mami Pensei.
Good
Good
evening.
evening.
Something to do. Physical education activities in Japan are more disciplined, making it funner to play sports compared to America. It does not matter if you win or lose over there. They're just having fun. The city is also giant, at least twice the size of Marlboro. The people are also very kind. In my opinion, the school math is way too difficult and responsible. The people are more responsible, focusing more on work and talking. And I rarely heard a student talk while the teacher was talking. In conclusion, Akaru no Japan is a great place, and I think the program should continue. It gives students the chance to visit a whole new country full of amazing places, meet new people, and a lot of food that most Americans have never had, and their culture and religion for us to discover.
Malia Joyce.
Hello everybody, my name is Malia. I'm gonna grab my speech from my pocket. I put it in there, did it fall out? Oh well, this is improvised. So I'm gonna start again. Hello everybody, my name is Malia. I really love Japan. Everything was amazing, and I'm so glad that I had this opportunity. Just the food, the culture, the people. I think the people was both the biggest difference, but also the largest similarity. I know that around the world, middle school kids are gonna be middle school kids, but everyone there was just a lot nicer with it, you know? People would come up to me and do their best to speak in English, which I know it was hard and it meant a lot because I was going there to experience their country, and you know, I obviously don't speak much Japanese, but when I tried, they were impressed, and everyone seemed so happy that I could be a part of it, and I felt really welcomed. There were students who would come up to me who didn't even have my class. Just during the 10-minute breaks, they were like, oop, Malia's in that room, I'm gonna go check that out, you know? And they would do their best to communicate with me, which meant so much. There was one girl, her name was Mira, and she spoke English, and we were using Google Translate to communicate. And I knew her for 1 hour, and she cried because it was my last day at that school. I made so many connections and relationships out there that are unique to anything else I'll have in my entire life, and I'm very appreciative of that. Just everyone was so kind, and it was great to see what it was like with even different family dynamics too, because I'm an only child, and so I got to experience what it was like to have a sibling, even if it was only for a week. And now I'm a little jealous, just a little bit.
Trust me, that won't last.
I actually don't want a sibling because I like getting all the gifts at Christmas. So, just Japan was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, at least this exchange, because I will be going back there at one point. And I am still in contact with Maku, the student who hosted me. She's actually coming out here. So I'm really excited to reconnect with her. Not only that, but when I was in Japan, I hosted a student last year. Her name was Rio, and I got to reconnect with her. So Japan, obviously there were so many things to experience, but one of my favorite things was making relationships and connections and friendships that are unique to anything I'll ever have in my life, and that are unique to most people won't have these types of relationships and bonds in their lives. And I'm just so grateful that I could have that.
Thank you.
Madeline Lee.
Good evening. I just want to say, for starters, that I'm so grateful I had this opportunity to go, and it was truly amazing. And my host family, they were amazing, and the host student I stayed with, she was pretty much just a Japanese me, but like 10 times tinier. And I have great memories from there. I remember we always played Mario Kart, and I taught them like a bunch of slang, so we were just like using that the whole time while we were playing Mario Kart. And the food was delicious, and at school I was like a celebrity. They got excited just for me to give them a high five, and it was just amazing. And I want to say thank you for the experience.
And last but not least, Kier Goodrich.
Good evening, or as I would say in Japan, konbanwa. I would like to just start by saying this was an absolutely amazing experience, and I am truly grateful that I got this opportunity. I got to explore Japan and learn about the culture. I climbed Tokyo Tower, rode the trains deep underground, and visited mountainside hot springs. But I think my favorite memory from this trip was making gyoza with my family for dinner. Simply sitting at the table, surrounded by my host family. Light chatter from the siblings, teasing and playing. The smell of the dumplings cooking. I got to visit Japan, and I had a home there. I have a home there. And for me, that was truly incredible. So thank you.
Before I open it up, if anyone has any questions, I just would like to tell you that the future of this program, we are welcoming our Akaruno family here on Saturday, November 30th. And then there will be a welcome ceremony at Whitcomb on Monday, December 2nd at 9 a.m. And I will be communicating more about the itinerary once more is finalized. And thank you so much for having us here this evening. If there's any questions, I'll open it up. If not, we'll close this up.
Thank you.
Of course there's a questions.
We'll go around.
Should I have the students come stand up here, or are they just fine right there?
I don't know.
They should come up
Probably
only
should come up
because
because the microphone,
Okay.
right?
So come
for
stand
it
up
to
here,
be
and then
taped.
someone will answer the
Exactly.
questions.
So
We'll take turns.
Jaden actually started to go down the path about the question that I was going to have, because I'm very fortunate that all three of my kiddos had the opportunity of being able to go to Akaruno, and they look back like you just were experiencing right here. They still talk about it, and they're older, not old, but you know, and it is an experience that you will hold near and dear forever. And Maleo, you talking about the connections that you've made, I hope that stays in your heart to be able to appreciate the differences of everyone and find that beauty and that kindness when somebody new walks up to you, and they may need that too. But Jaden started talking about the experience of tacos, right? Because everybody needed to create their American meal to share with their family, I believe, right? Did you guys, you did not?
It's not necessarily a requirement anymore. It's if you would like to.
If you would like to, okay. Well, I was wondering only because that was a big question in our household was, you know, what to make. And I love that you went ahead and kind of did the spinoff to also make sure that your heritage, including your Mexican heritage, which is also part of that, you know, that American thing, you did tacos. That was one that actually my son, who's not Mexican, did as an American specialty. And mac and cheese was another one, and pancakes was another one. So it's funny to think about what we internalize and want to give experiences to others so that they can see a little bit more of who we are. So that's what I was going to ask about was your food choices, but we're going to go with tacos from Jaden. So never mind on my question, but I'm so excited for you guys.
Question? You don't have to.
I actually, and none of you parents have to answer this, but I know, having interviewed, not this group, but many of the others, and having been fortunate enough to go myself, that the trepidation that the parents had when their child came home and said, Mom or Dad, I want to go to Japan, or I've been selected. Because I know for many of them, they may not have traveled before. And we always say to them that we're so proud of them for making that leap. And did you truly find them different when they came home? Like just a little bit, you know, like the responsibility, you hope that they. All right, well, I'm glad you guys had this opportunity, and I'm glad it's continuing. And as I said, Michelle and I got to go when it was the 25th. 20th anniversary. So
this was the 24th year.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, well, and if
Right.
I could just chime in on that, the Akaruno committee has asked that this summer, and I will be working with Jill Roberts from our MPS Communications, that past advisors, past guests that went, past people that have hosted, we are going to make the mayor, and we're all going to be part of a movie that Jill's going to help me create so that they can present in Akaruno at the end of August.
Oh, very nice.
That's wonderful. Well, I'm glad you guys got this great experience. So.
Yes. So I'll just say hi again, because I did interview all of you before. Yeah. And
Different room, they didn't recognize.
it was, I knew that all of you were going to have an amazing experience, but until you actually have it, it's hard to imagine, right? But having gone there myself with Mrs. Matthews, it's a special place. And Marlboro has a special place in their heart. Is that something that you really felt? Like, a lot of people in Marlboro don't even know that this program exists, but there, everybody knows who you are, right? Yeah. Do you want to tell us?
I went to a mall with my host family, and somebody actually came up to me and was like, "So, are you like a Marlboro student that came to Akaruno?" Just wondering. Like, they were super nervous to ask me. It was weird.
You were a celebrity.
And you obviously took pictures on Marlboro Street, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, to them, this program and this relationship is revered. They really, it's really a part of them. And sure, Aaliyah.
I know that, like, when I went there, people had like a lot of questions about America, and even more so than that, like, they just really wanted to talk to you. They also really wanted to talk in English specifically. Like, everyone who came to talk to me, they didn't even try in Japanese. Like, they would always try in English, which, like, yes, I appreciated. But they asked like a lot of questions, and there was a few girls who were introduced to me by Maku as they're going on the trip, and I remember people would point them out, like, they're going on the trip, whereas when, like, I got selected, only my friends who I knew that I was going, but everyone in the class knew, like, who was hosting me and also, like, who was going on the trip.
Yeah. So great. I'm glad. I knew you'd have a great time, and I'm glad you did. And thanks for coming to tell us. Sure.
I'm Parker's mom.
Can you please come up to the microphone?
If you don't know, you're on television, so there are people watching you live, but it also gets taped.
That's what we would say, the cat is in the kitchen.
Anyway, I just wanted to say that I am so grateful that these kids have this experience. It's unbelievable, and I'm just thrilled that they worked really hard to raise money, and they did everything to leading up to this. And as a parent, I'm just super. That I don't even know if Parker realizes how fortunate she was to have. I mean, I think you will learn, looking back, you'll realize even more every year. I'm sure what a wonderful experience it was.
So as
Thank
a
you.
parent being up there, I'm going to ask you, how would you feel like we could better communicate about this opportunity so that more people could actually get interested in this potential of, a great trip, great experience in so many ways. Because I just don't know, like, maybe did Parker bring it home to let you know, or was it something you all were aware of?
One of my friends from the jazz band, Doug Tower, his mom kept texting my mom saying, Doug had a great time. Parker should go. Up to the point where she put Doug up to at jazz band. He came up to me and was like, my mom said to tell you, you should go to Japan because I had a good time. And I really did have a good time, but you should go. So.
Actually, I could speak to that. So I plan on continuing the program up until June. And part of my plan is and we're still looking for 5 host families for our students that are coming here, is to reach out to 5th grade to get them excited for when they start coming to Whitcomb, so that when they're in 6th grade, it's not their first opportunity hearing that, because we can have 6th and 7th grade students apply. So if we reach back a year, then it starts it earlier. So starting in elementary school, mentioning it, and part of my itinerary for the chaperones that are coming here is to bring them back into the elementary school. So we're going to have a half-day tour at Goodnow. We also have a half-day at the ECC, and so it starts to get noticed more. I think the 3-year hiatus due to COVID-19 hurt us.
Yeah, for sure. Great, thank you, and thank you for sharing.
Anyone else? No? Well, thank you all for coming and sharing your wonderful experience, and thank you. You're ready.
Thank you very much.
While they're still here, can we move the agenda item just to make it official moving forward?
Can we suspend the rules and move to item, I don't even know. Oh, 9A, sorry, 9A. Motion to.
Motion on the table to approve Whitcomb School.
No.
To move it to.
That's fine.
We
Yeah.
have to suspend the rules to move it up.
Okay, and now I'll make a motion to approve the.
Well, we have to vote to suspend it. Motion to suspend the rules.
Second.
All in favor? Suspension moves forward.
Okay. What's your motion?
Motion to approve the proposed fall trip for Ekaru, and I know dates are to be decided still for.
So motion on the table to
2025
continue the exchange
fall 2025.
program. Questions, comments, concerns?
My only comment would be, once dates are set, can you please come back so at least we have that awareness or have it communicated through the superintendent? So, thank you.
Any further questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, all in favor, continue the program? Motion carries. The program will continue.
Thank you very much. And is it all right if we politely excuse ourselves? Yes, thank you.
Enjoy the evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Good night.
Alrighty, we're moving on. Superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mayor Christian. That's impossible to follow, though. This included in your packet tonight, I included an updated enrollment report as of last week, prior to us leaving for the joint conference. I also compared to earlier reports, and it's been October had 4 fewer students than this report. Today there's 1 more than last week. So it seems to be pretty stable, unless I will not include this information in the packet again unless there's a significant increase in January or February. That's usually the timeline where we usually do. We have already started sitting down and looking at class size at the elementary to plan. We need to make some adjustments to grade levels. We really won't know about kindergarten for next year if the flattening of the class sizes
are going to continue or if it's a one-year thing. But it is, it's joyful to have similar class sizes in kindergarten across the district, so we're hoping that maybe we can maintain it, but we will see on that. Once again, the class sizes at the elementary are ranging from anywhere between 18.5 students or so up to 25.5, depending on some of the larger class sizes. The next item on the agenda is I included from Assabet Valley Collaborative, their school committee update. Throughout the year, they provide 4 updates. And this was report number 1. It highlights some of the activities that have been happening, gives you some information about and background on the collaborative and the membership map. Looks back at some of their goals, highlights some new activities and staffing that has been added, and some of the grants that they have done. One of the things that they have included as well is to highlight that they have been chosen to be a benefit from the annual Network with a Purpose that is happening on November 18th at the Apex, and that is something that the Apex Entertainment, Marlborough Regional Chamber of Commerce, and Kits for Kids are creating kits that will be donated to the Orchard Street School as one of the schools or communities that are going to benefit. Also, the community covered Marlborough Hospital as well. I wanted to update the committee on the Marlborough Public Schools District Strategic Plan focused on district improvement. That's a really long title, but let me explain. We've been working on a project that has embedded our strategies for improvement and student opportunity act goals into our district improvement plan. Instead of having 3 separate documents, having one plan that represents all the goals that we're working on. On December 2nd, 2024 at 4:15 p.m. in the Whitcomb Commons, during the district-wide administrative dinner meeting, administrators and teachers will be reviewing this integrated document and suggest edits, additions, and additions. A draft of the combined document will be shared at a future school committee meeting. I'm also inviting any school committee members that would like to join us on that night to see what some of the feedback is and some of the priority areas are. Prior to that, this week, the district leadership team will be looking at the document as well. During that same time, during that meeting, some of the district administrators will also be trained in the Title IX. And so we are taking advantage to really target 2 specific areas during that night. I also wanted to update the committee on the November 4th, 2024 citywide parent-teacher organization meeting. On Monday, November 4th, 2024, I met with members of the citywide parent-teacher organizations. School committee member, Mr. Dan Caruso, also attended this meeting. Topics discussed included remote hybrid PTO meeting options, and Chris Henry is going to be supporting each PTO with doing that. Policies and procedures for school volunteers, what's already in place, and ways of looking on and expanding those opportunities, especially for parents that want to be involved in the schools during the day. And the citywide PTOs had created a presentation by the grade 5 subcommittee focused on end of the year grade 5 activities. we have scheduled 2 follow-up meetings. We'll be meeting on Monday, November 18th, for a follow-up discussion on the end-of-year activities for grade 5 students. And all elementary principals will be joining that meeting as well for that discussion. And the next quarterly meeting is scheduled from Monday, February 10th. All meetings begin at 5:30 p.m. and take place in the superintendent's conference room. And finally, the 2024 MIAA District 3 Sportsmanship Awards went to Marlborough High School. Marlborough High School was selected to receive the 2024 MIAA District 3 Sportsmanship Award. The presentation of the District Sportsmanship Award took place during the 30th Annual MIAA Sportsmanship Summit at Gillette Stadium in Foxborough on Thursday, November 7th, 2024. It's always scheduled at the same time as the joint conference.
I think it's because the commissioner goes to that and then comes down to the Cape.
Yeah, so there's always a conflict that none of us can attend, but
the commissioner.
Yeah, but the commissioner does. So, and that's it.
Excellent. Any questions?
Yeah.
I have one.
Aspect?
Yeah, on the aspect, it was just more of, I noticed, one of the workshops that I attended on the Cape talked about pipeline for educators, and I noticed that they're utilizing one of the ones which I think we've also looked at, which is that competitive teacher diversification grant from DESE.
Yes, we've received that grant in the past as well. And similar to the pathway that we're going on currently is building teacher capacity through offering opportunities to paraeducators and support personnel.
Yeah, I mean, that seemed to be the consensus right now for most of the districts that talked about building it was obviously through their high schools, and then feeding into their paraeducators and hometown growth as much as more than anything these days, it seems to be.
Yeah, we said it's very exciting to walk through the schools and to see many, many former students working in support roles, hoping that they love education. And we have course reimbursement, as we highlighted it on the last episode of Superintendent's Corner. We have a lot of opportunities. We can support our support staff to have the trainings and the practicum hours and all of those requirements as they do their job and as our wonderful benefits support that.
Yeah, well, and it's never too late because the first example was a woman who had been a paraeducator for over 30 years, and she never gave up. She did her education through it. She just kept not passing MTEL, but then finally did on her 9th try. But she was able through the system to even get her master's. So she just kept doing it until she succeeded. So.
Yeah. And we'll just point out the fact that we are always hoping to grow our multilingual workforce, and that is basically just, it's always, when you're taking an exam that is not your native language, sometimes it takes many more times to be able to pass that exam. It's true, everything.
On that note, though, I would also say one of the things that's I've seen, I feel like more recently, a bunch of our alumni that are coming back and in some cases starting as substitutes and getting their feet wet and realize that they really do love being a part of it. And so many of them are starting on that path towards becoming a teacher, which I think is just absolutely lovely, welcoming them back and them moving on and flourishing. So it's been great to see. So
our teachers make the difference in a lot of students' lives, and a lot of our students want to make that difference as well.
Any other questions for the superintendent? Seeing none? we'll move on. Assistant Superintendent of Student Services.
Thank you very much. Tonight I have a nursing update for the committee. With the upcoming cold and flu season upon us, on October 3rd, 2024, Bouvier Pharmacy conducted a flu COVID vaccine clinic at Wickham, where 50 staff members took advantage to receive the vaccinations. Additional flu clinics were offered by Marlborough's Board of Health at several schools, and an additional 53 staff received flu vaccinations. I want to thank our Supervisor of Health Services, Christine Harrington, for facilitating this opportunity for our staff. Also, on November 5th, Professional Development Day, MPS nurses participated in several activities. The nurses attended the Boston University School Health Institute for Education and Leadership Development's Clinical Update 2024, entitled Equity at the Heart of Care, Supporting Students with Diverse Medical Needs. This 5-hour virtual professional development session focused on equipping school nurses with skills to support students with complex medical needs. The training featured case scenarios that highlighted the challenges families may face, particularly regarding access to resources, and explored ways nurses can collaborate with families to overcome these obstacles. Some scenarios centered on the unique needs of immigrant students and emphasized the critical preparation school nurses should make before these students begin school. In addition to the virtual training, the primary and secondary nurses met in separate professional learning communities. The primary level nurses concentrated on developing a unified protocol for handling, I'm not going to say this right, pediculosis or head lice. They identified inconsistencies in the steps taken, from head checks to student disposition across different buildings. This protocol will ensure continuity of care with all nurses following the same procedures across all sites. The secondary level nurses began working on a standardized head injury protocol, which has not been finalized yet. They noted varying practices between buildings, particularly regarding head injuries related to athletics. The team is reviewing MPS policies and DPH guidelines to create a flowchart for staff to follow in the event of a head injury. This will promote consistency in care across buildings and improve collaboration with other departments such as athletics. Our nursing staff places a high priority on collaborating with the athletic director, athletic trainer, coaches, parents, and students to ensure that every student remains safe and supported in the event of injuries like these. Our aim is to follow all necessary steps to ensure that all students, whether they have sustained a head injury or not, can fully access the curriculum.
Thank you. We'll open it up to questions. Yes, Ms. Henry.
So I'm going to ask relative to the section at the end with the secondary level nurses studying head injury protocol, because we do have a concussion policy, and we have had one in place for a while. So are we meaning the guidelines that each of the schools are doing and how they're handling it? Is that what we're meaning when we're saying policy in there?
So the policy that we have in place has not consistently been followed. So it's looking at procedures to make sure that they're following it.
Okay, so it's really more of a procedures as opposed to policy. And I guess, thank you for the clarity. The other point that I would say is that I think it'd be great to have procedures, obviously, that are consistent, but one of the things that's been really learned is that concussions are vastly different, and so we need to make sure that it's actually enveloping all of the different things that can happen, because there's just, there is no, I don't know, one set guideline to what a concussion is going to be like for each child. It normally has to be adapted, so I guess I would say great to have that line, and then we need to make sure that everybody really understands that it is individualized per each athlete or person that comes in with a head injury.
Correct. I think the procedure first starts with making sure that there's a reporting of the head injury to the school nurse so that they can follow up. So I think that's the first step, and then going through. So I would like Christine Harrington to come and report out on any of the procedures that they do develop once those are finalized, and making sure that's aligned with the policy.
Yeah, that would be great. And definitely you should have a tie-in that from the athletic department that there's a communication between the athletic director's office once a head injury has been discovered or reported, so that it can be pushed out to all of the different nursing staff and the administrators in both, well, you would think primarily more middle school and high school, but of course it could be in the elementary schools too. So, okay, thank you.
Yes.
I'm going to piggyback off of Mrs. Hennessy, because what I was going to say is, as a school committee member or as a parent, that I would make the assumption that the policy that's in place, that when it's an athletic situation, that the trail follows. Maybe that's not happening. Maybe that's what's being discussed. I think the harder challenge that I would have always been concerned with is anybody that experiences a head injury outside of school. And that I know can not always make it to the nurses. And because, a teacher might notice something and may say to a nurse or something like, they're acting off. Did anybody report anything, without trying to violate anything? But if a parent doesn't tell us or doesn't bring in a doctor's note, we can't make the accommodations to help that child.
Absolutely. And I think that's also part of the reporting processes, some parent education, and especially with all the club sports, town sports that occur outside of.
Even accidents in the yard.
They could be in a car accident.
Right.
There's lots of
exactly.
ways
So it's more of it's not athletic concussions. It's concussions or head injuries, and maybe we need to look at the handbooks again to say, something just the parental awareness of, if we always say sick, but this is a different issue that needs to be addressed.
And it has, I know that it does speak to it within the policy,
right.
But to your point, we need to make sure that we're partnering with, the parents need to really be communicating that. And as you pointed out, Jody, it's, with having a lot of club activities, especially outside of school.
And just accidents.
It needs, right, and just regular accidents that do occur. The communication, as we've talked about for almost anything, is really imperative, making it happen.
Thank you.
Any other further questions? Seeing none, thank you. Moving on to acceptance of minutes of October 22nd, 2024 school committee meeting.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve is on the table and seconded. Questions, comments, concerns regarding the minutes from October 22? Seeing none, all in favor? The minutes are approved. Thank you. Public comment. Moving on to public comment going once. Public comment going twice. Seeing none. And public comment 3 times. Seeing none, we'll close public comment. Thank you. Action items and reports. We approved the Whitcomb School Exchange Program, so moving on to the Memorandum of Understanding between the Marlborough School Committee and the Marlborough School Administrative Office Support Association.
Motion to approve the new contract between the Marlborough School Committee and the Marlborough School Administrative Office Support Association from July 1, 2024 to June 30th, 2027.
Thank you.
Big back.
Motion's on the table and seconded. Questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, all in favor? Motion carries. Thank you. FY26 draft budget calendar.
Very similar to past years. For your
So I need a motion if we want to approve.
I'll motion to approve the proposed calendar. I have a question, so I'm motioning. Anybody want to say anything?
Motion's on the table and seconded. Questions, comments, concerns?
So, and this is nothing, we get educated for 3 days, so each year. And I went to a couple of budget type conversations, and this is more a conversation really between the superintendent, finance person, and the mayor. And I know we ran into a couple glitches last year just timing wise. But one thing, several districts, city districts, made a point of saying that they don't like to even put the final stuff down until we have the preliminary Chapter 70, which I know is a hard thing to do because it gets pushed and pushed and pushed. And you're doing it in the hopes that you're held harmless and you're not going to get anything less. April 1st to me seems really early, even though I know we put it over there. But have you started to put your citywide? Okay, so are we jumping the gun a little bit here on dates, or is it good for us to have dates? I mean, I know you've been talking about it since July 1, so.
I mean, you always want to have some targets to shoot for.
Sure.
And have a calendar that you can kind of, a preliminary calendar that you can work towards. You know, and you know, we've been doing this for a number of years.
Yep.
It always fluctuates and moves, and we're always pushing those timelines out as we try to figure out more information. It's difficult because we get that preliminary Chapter 70 at the end of January. We have no idea what anything's going to be sometimes till the end of July. So
Right.
It's hard to kind of base on that where we think it's going to go. It doesn't always fluctuate much, but sometimes it does. And then, you know, even to the point where circuit breaker, we don't even know what that number is until October now, late October, I think it's been likely. So, you know, so it's hard with those numbers to kind of anticipate where we think things are going to be going. But, you know, again, it's a timeline, and it's kind of following through on a process.
I'm personally not uncomfortable with putting dates. I just wanted to basically like bring the conversation together, because that was also one of the conversations, is how do we make sure that our municipality and our schools are working better together to have these conversations, which has always been a big goal of ours, so.
Well, it's a draft form. We don't have to approve it tonight. So, I mean, this is a good guide.
Yeah.
And then we don't have to take it up tonight and vote on it, so we can vote on it another time, once we can figure out, nail down some dates to see if this actually works, because it is pretty early, so, but, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think historically we have approved it, the preliminary, and made modifications along the way, so.
But even from a city councilor standpoint, it was always a lot earlier than, so.
Oh, yeah, we always were.
Right. So, I mean, that can be looked at.
And I would love for it to not be something we would vote on, especially since we have the transportation contract that we're going to have that a part of the conversation, but that's got to go through the process. And we have a new federal administration coming in, and I think that we kind of need to see what's going to happen about the Department of Education.
Right.
So.
I think my concern is that if we approve this tonight, then we need to be held accountable to it. So that's why I would not want to approve unless we are all.
Well, it's a draft, yeah.
We love your draft.
But I want to make sure that these dates actually do work rather than. But
Can I ask a question, though? Would you suggest that we look at other dates and move it out? Because we do need something to start planning with, and that be identifying priorities. And yes, absolutely, we do need to know where the transportation's going to fall. But Chapter 70, honestly, with the Student Opportunity Act.
Oh, I know. No. I get that.
Yeah. But also, AMSA, if they're going to decrease us by another $500,000, that would be something else.
Right.
We would need, and so but we would start having to do planning as soon as possible.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not speaking on your behalf, but I think the calendar that you're working with, you're not going to deviate from that, other than, because you have to do certain things waiting for that. I think when the presentations and those steps, I think, are what have to be tweaked a little bit.
Right.
And we'll know more. I mean, Catherine brings up the point of the transportation. Until we see that, that's going to drive a lot.
Yes. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So, I mean, we'll follow our process internally. We'll start collecting our data. We're going to be pulling everything together. And certainly these dates, I don't think I've ever put a budget calendar forward that actually stuck to the dates of the original calendar. So it's just the reality of it. You're moving, you're fluctuating, things are changing, you're finding out new information. So you're always kind of saying, oh yeah, okay, we're going to push this out just a little bit longer.
Right.
So.
And to the superintendent's point, you have contractual things that you have to abide by. So we're all aware of that.
Okay.
So I'm going to modify and say motion to place on file.
But you don't want to table it for?
Oh, table it, sorry, table it. No, you're right, it wasn't to be on file, because it should be tabled. Motion to table.
Motion's on the motion to table the draft calendar, draft budget calendar. Questions, comments, concerns? Seconded. Good?
Good?
Questions, comments? All in favor?
So I was trying to put that on.
Motion carries. Thank you. All right. Policies for first read.
Thank you very much. I have here tonight for you 2 policies for consideration. The social media policy, which would be moving from a numbered policy to a lettered policy, which would become IHB. And then the grading periods policy, and that already had transferred to a lettered policy, but needed to move towards trimesters for Whitcomb, and which then obviously would change the numbers towards the quarter periods, which would stay at the high school. So I would love if I could ask for a suspension of the rules to actually vote on these tonight if possible. So I would like to make a motion to suspend the rules to take a vote on these tonight.
Motion is on the table and seconded to vote. The motion's to suspend the rules.
Right.
Questions, comments, concerns to suspend the rules? All in favor? The suspension carries.
And then I would like to make a motion for approval of policy IHB, social media, and policy IC, grading periods.
It's a motion on the table to approve policy IHB and policy IC, and seconded. Questions, comments, concerns regarding these 2 policies? Questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none? All in favor? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Moving on to acceptance of donations and gifts. 2. We have Cocoa Tree Kids from MPS students for $1,000 in gifts of children's undergarments. That's a quarterly, I believe.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve is on the table and seconded. Questions, comments, concerns for Cocoa Kids? All in favor? Motion carries. And the last one is Hope and Comfort for MPS students and families for $2,000, which is again a gift form for personal hygiene products to support health, dignity, and confidence for children and adults.
Motion to approve and to also thank our wraparound coordinators for
Thank you. So
getting these grants.
motion is on the table and seconded. Questions, comments, concerns regarding the Hope and Comfort $2,000 monetary. Seeing none? All in favor? Motion carries. All righty. Reports of school committee subcommittees.
So we will be having another meeting for policy shortly. Right now, we're just trying to find some dates. We do want to have some discussions around our visitors in school, making sure that we're enveloping volunteers, not just visitors. So we had touched base about this when we were down at the conference, and we will work on having a meeting shortly so that we can get some of that language out there to make sure all of our parents and volunteers feel welcome in the schools, and we appreciate all that they do in the many ways that they help us. So, thank you.
Alrighty, thank you. Any other subcommittee reports?
No, not gonna be a no.
No?
No.
Okay. Then seeing none. Members forum. Yes.
I have reviewed and have signed the warrant.
Okay, thank you. Nothing? Okay, alrighty. Anyone else for members forum? Seeing none.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn is seconded. All in favor? We adjourn. 8:36.